The truth about Siatemba Sitebe has been revealed. It's not what you think. Hello and welcome to Khosi Nation Fan TV. I am Pelo, I am your host, and this is where fans meet and talk about Kaizer Chiefs. Khosi Football Club. Let's talk about Siatemba Sitebe and let's also talk about Samir Nurkovic. Something that we don't usually say about former Kaizer Chiefs players. Samir Nurkovic has actually gone ahead and done. So, in an interview being asked about his time at Kaizer Chiefs, what went wrong and stuff, you know how it usually goes with these ex players. Some of them are telling the truth, and some of them will just dismiss them and say, I know they're just being bitter because things didn't go well for them at Kaizer Chiefs. But a lot of these quality players are coming in at Chiefs and then they leave Sebezing Omo. So they arrive very good players and we're hyping them and saying, yeah, and then they leave. Inkomo. In fact, they don't even need to leave. They play 5 minutes for each Chiefs and then Sebezi Inkomo. Anyways, with Samir Nurkovic, that has not been the case. Because when he was asked Guti what happened, he talks about injuries, that the fact that he had a lot of injuries at Kaizer Chiefs and playing for a big club such as Kaizer Chiefs, if you have those injuries, then it kind of goes against you because fans are expecting you to do something, the coach is expecting you to do something, and if you are no longer delivering, you become a liability. And that's actually what happened to him. Which actually brings me to an interesting thing about Unukovic. Because Unukovic, the season prior his injury problems, he was scoring goals for Chiefs, right? Some people will argue that Nukovic only knew one way to play, he only knew how to score headers, but we can go back to his headers and the other goals that he scored. And you will see that he actually did give the Chiefs more than what Caleb came on and gave the Chiefs. I want to do something, a comparison between Caleb and Unukovic and what could have led to what happened with both of them, especially with Unukovic. Because there were rumors about Caleb Guti that he was played even though he had injuries. It was the same thing with Unukovic though, because there were some rumors about him that he was played with injuries. And if you look at that, if you're going to put an injection on a player to try and numb the pain and keep them going, because sometimes Unukovic would come in and then you'd see what he's strapped, so he might not be fully fit, and then he plays and then he gets injured, and then you thinking Guti, there's probably something that has made this injury, which could have been a minor injury, to become worse. And remember, during the time of Nukovic, it was him and Castro had the very same problem of injuries because Castro would get injured, and then now if Nukovic is injured, we basically don't have a striker because at the time, once again, there was Ukama who also had injuries, which left us with who? Lazarus Kambule, and Lazarus Kambule wasn't performing very well. So now, if you're in that situation, you're looking, Billiard is injured, Haibo, Castro is injured, Kambule is not performing. What do we do with Unukovic? We play him even if he has an injury problem. Because even him, as a player who's trusted by the team, he's thinking to himself, you know what, I have to deliver for the team. And this is not just happening with the Kaizer Chiefs. Because I have found that even with a player like Marcus Rashford, there was a time when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was coaching Manchester United that he was playing even though he had injury problems because the team needed him so much. You looked across the United squad and everything was dead. Martial always injured as a number 9, and you look at the players performing for them, it's Bruno was playing as a 10, and the rest of the team, there was just nothing. So the only player that had to deliver was Rashford because Greenwood at that time was coming up for United, and yes, eventually he started carrying the team himself, but for the most part under Solskjaer, the person that they looked at was Rashford. And because of that, he played with injuries. And there was a time that people started saying he was a bad player and stuff like that, only to find that the guy had injuries. And then he got to recover. The team got some better players, I guess. And then now, last season, you saw Rashford playing at his best as well. So I'm just asking myself, is it the reason why Kaizer Chiefs ended up bringing in a fitness coach because they saw that we're having a lot of injury issues, which we still kind of having right now. Just gonna leave it out there because these injuries and the lack of depth, because that's also very important, is causing some of these players to have a long layouts. Because if you have Nurkovic is injured, but there are other 2-3 strikers playing and performing at the very high level who are competing with him, then he can go out and be out for 3 weeks and we won't miss him. I know it doesn't sound right, but we won't be suffering a lot of consequences just because one player is out. Instead of saying, how bad is it? Because sometimes players are asked, in a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it? And then the player says, it's a 4. And then he continues playing. But by continuing to play, you are getting the pain from 4 to 7. And what was supposed to be 3 weeks is now becoming double that, because now you are going to be out for 6 weeks, which is 6 months, which is 2 months. So now you're out for 2 months, and those are 8 fixtures. I know 6 weeks is 1.5 months, but let's just say 2 months in any case. So now the team is out for 8 games in a league. Maybe there is a cup there included. So now a player is out for 9 games, and that's a very crucial player. But if you just let him be out for 3 weeks, then he just misses 3 games or 4 games and is back for the other games. So it goes again to tell us that as much as Nurkovic is saying, it was my fault that I didn't make it at Kaizer Chiefs, I'm thinking to myself, why was he getting injured this much? And why are our players still getting injured this much? Because it's a concern. I mean, Uranga hasn't been here for that long, but he's already sustained 2 injuries. Yes, part of it might be because coming from Mikaland, who was being played a lot, but then he plays for Kaizer Chiefs once again after coming back from that injury, picks up another injury. What is wrong? And he's not the only one, by the way. Towards the end of last season, Dolly got injured. Right now, Dover is injured. Yes, Dover was carrying his own injuries. By the way, that's another question. Why do we keep signing these players who have injury issues? That's another. Because we signed Umanyama and we knew he had injury problems. It's just another thing that is making me go on a tangent. But the point is, a lot of injuries are happening at Kaizer Chiefs. And I know, even Go Sundowns, they are getting their own injuries. But the thing is, if Utemba Zwane gets injured, Go Sundowns, it affects them a bit. But bring on Shalulile, Shalulile will do the job. But even if Shalulile is not there, they will play Unku. Unku comes on, the game is still flowing for Sundowns. They bring on Umayema, the game is still fine for Sundowns. Bring on Umendieta, the game is still fine for Sundowns. So Sundowns, as much as they might be getting injuries, or any other team like Manchester City, they get an injury to Calvin Phillips, they don't care. They can play John Stones as a 6. Rodri gets injured, they can play John Stones as a 6. As I'm saying, they can play a lot of players in those positions because, one, their players are flexible in changing positions, and also they have a lot of players. We don't have a lot of players. So if those few players that we have get injured, then it has a very big effect on the team. So that's a problem, because not signing players is not just affecting how our first team is performing, but it's also affecting how do we change games. Because a lot of teams, you'll find that they don't play well in the second half, they bring on a sub on the 65th minute, that sub changes the game. But we Kaizer Chiefs, most times you look, you're like, no one can come in, so let's just keep the same players. That is why you'll find players, I'm not saying Martin's been performing bad, but you see that they can't trust anyone else to come in. Umat will play 90 minutes even if you see that he's tired. But since they don't trust anyone to do what Matt does, then they will not substitute him. And that's a problem. Which leads us to Siatemba Steb. Before we talk about him though, if you've been watching the video up to this far, guys, why haven't you liked the video? Why haven't you subscribed to the channel? Do that. Do the right thing. It helps me to reach more people like you. Okay, Siatemba Stebe. Remember on a video that we talked about 2-3 days ago, the reports were that he's leaving Kaizer Chiefs, and who was reporting that? It was actually Sokalatum. And whenever I say anything about Sokalatum, I always say to you, take this with a pinch of salt. I'm not sure, but I always say, don't take this seriously because it's Sokalatum and they might be lying. Because in that report, once again, they did say that he actually hasn't even featured once in the league this season. However, or not however, but contrary to that, actually Ustebe it's reported that he's very much in the coach's plans and he's not going anywhere. And remember what I said yesterday. This is funny because I'm recording both videos on the same day, but I'm saying remember what I said yesterday. Remember what I said in yesterday's video. I said that, I don't know, I'm telling you this. I said that if you have players, if you have a team and you are playing against Sundowns or Pirates, you are not experimenting. You play your best squad. And when Umlifinsegi went against Mamelodi Sundowns, he played a midfield trio of Castillo, Matt, and Siteb, which tells me that those are the three most trusted midfielders by Umlifinsegi. Yes, after that, the player who came on was Umtutuzi Mtanzane. But what if I told you that's only because Usetemba Stebe actually picked up an injury in the game of Sundowns? Well, that's actually what happened. He did pick up an injury in the game of Mamelodi Sundowns. That's not to say, though, he's going to come back and replace Umtutuzi Mtanzane. But it is to say that one of the reasons why he's not been available in games, it's not because he's no longer in the coach's plans, but it's because of the fact that he has an injury and now he's working his way back. I am not sure with these breaks because I realize that right now there's a break since it's September. There's an international break. October there's another break. November there's another break. It's disruptive because also there's going to be a AFCON in January to February. So these breaks are going to help the players with injuries to recover and come back and join the team. So that's the bright side of these breaks in between the games. But the problem is that they are going to disturb momentum. As I'm saying that, my brain is like, what momentum are you talking about? Because Chiefs doesn't have any momentum. They just know how to defend so far. But Tige, I guess sorry to you guys who are thinking Ustebe is going, because according to the reports, he is not going anywhere. What do you think about this thing, especially that issue about injuries at Kaizer Chiefs? Let me know down on the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, equals Alpelumoy. Why would you tell them that? No.